Hey, Chanel here with another SewBit. Today we're going to talk about interfacing. Everybody always goes, what is interfacing? You'll see it also like on the back of a pattern, like the back of this simple little pattern. It says lightweight interfacing, and also it's lightweight. Well, interfacing comes in different weights. So you got really sheer, light, medium, and a heavy weight. And basically, interfacing helps stabilize a fabric. It puts a little stiffening in it. And the most common ones are Pellon styles that you press on. So it's really simple. You might notice in your collars or plackets in a shirt, cuffs. Why is that the same fabric, but they're a little stiffer than the rest of the fabric? And it's because it has interfacing in it. You can get interfacings that are iron-on. They're called fusible, or the sew-in type. And actually, I'm going to show you this in the instructions on this little simple jacket. There's a lot of interfacing in here. The pattern actually says you need 1.25 yards of it. Also, interfacing comes narrower. It doesn't come like 45 inches wide. It's usually like 20 inches kind of thing. So 1 yard of that is not as much. But right in this direction right here, if you ever see pattern instructions, it has the hashtag, usually means that that piece is interfaced. So basically you would just cut the same pattern, use that same pattern and cut it out at an interfacing, and then you press it on or sew it on. That just stabilizes that. Here is a bolt of interfacing right here. And this is a Pellon style. You'll also see directions in here too. It's just, they're all in different languages, and they're just it's a little couple paragraphs. And that's basically interfacing. So you have a gluey side right here that goes onto the wrong side of the fabric. That's where a lot of mistakes happen. People accidentally sew it onto the right side of the fabric, and then when you take it off, you sometimes got to recut it because all the little glue crystals stay on the fabric. So that's what that is. Now, I'll just show you some different versions of it. This is another interfacing. It's a lightweight gray one. It's pretty thin, and you can see it up close. It's kind of like feathery or heather type thing. This one's a pretty common interfacing. You'll see it around a lot. This is another interfacing. You see all the little dots in there. That's just little, think of it as little glue crystals. These are, actually here's another great one. This is a Tricot one, so it actually has stretch to it, because you can also just stretch, or you can also use interface stretchy fabric. Sometimes that needs a little extra stability. Then there's the woven or the sew-in types, and those are, they're stiff kind of cottony fabrics that they're nice, even, they're woven nice and even, and they get sewn in to garments, usually into facings, that kind of thing. In the olden days, that's all they had. They had the sew-in one, so you'd have to like baste that whole part down onto the facing and sew the facing onto there. And it sometimes the sew-in ones are a lot better. The fusibles will sometimes cause little bubbles in your fabric, or they'll start to come apart later on, like in dry cleaning. You ever see your facings have like nubby parts in it and they just look like it's deteriorating, or you look in the inside of it and it's like got this white, fuzzy stuff in there? That's the interfacing. So it's kind of a pain. Another way they do in couture clothes is they use organdy or organza and use it as an inner piece to interface stuff, because it's a real tight weave of a fabric. Like this is a silk organza, and I used to, like lightweight wedding gowns, I would sew it into certain parts of the wedding gown to give lighter weight things some stability. And this one's called a horsehair. I think in the olden days it was actually made out of horsehair. It's a bit itchy. I don't know if it's got wool in it or what, because wool automatically itches me, but these are used for tailoring, and you'll see this in suits a lot. And stitched in, they actually have these ironed on in you know, you can iron them on in too, so, or fuse them in. Here's another type. So those are good for suits. So interfacing, just think of it as stabilizing certain pieces, usually smaller pieces, and you just cut it as the same pattern. Just follow the instructions on your instructions, and and always remember the gluey side goes to the wrong side of the fabric. You don't want to put it on the right side because then you'd ruin it. And let me show you how we press this on, and then you'll get an idea for it. Okay, so here I have a couple of different samples. Have the basic white Pellon where you can see it's got little dots of glue on it, and this is the gluey side, so I would put it, say this was the wrong side of the fabric, well, you can't tell on that one. Here's another interfacing with the, it's a little bit lighter weight, it's called a Pellon, and it's got the, I can feel the gluey side is on this side, so I'm going to put it down on the wrong side of that fabric. And then here's a Tricot one, and that's like, it stretches, so it's pretty cool. And you can still use this on woven, because once it glues in there, it, you know, just kind of helps stabilize it, but it's meant for knits. And I'm going to put that on this side right here. And sometimes you, to protect your iron, and if your iron's real hot, you might want to use a press cloth. So you put it over in between the barrier, and then you just press it. You don't really move it around too much. You just kind of get some weight. You push down a little bit, because what you're doing is just connecting all the little glue spots in there. I'll put it on here. One bit more, but just like a press, like pressing down and not so much sliding, because you don't want to knock your piece out of shape either. So it just basically presses down. You can see it's got some sticky, see right here, that would have stuck to my iron. And then I might even want to take it and press it from the other side too. What the goal is to get all those sticky sides or stickies down. And once it's on here, you can slide it a little bit more, but right there. So now this piece of fabric has a lot more stability to it. You can see this is where the interface is stuck right here. And if it, always test it too, it shouldn't come off this easy. This will probably need a little bit more heat to it to stay down. And then this one looks like it's pretty anchored in there. So it depends on the interfacing. This one's a little lighter weight. And then here's the Tricot one. And that one's, these all could use a little bit more heat to them too. But there is interfacing. It just stabilizes the fabric, and that way, like if you're making a collar out of it or something, it looks it's a lot stiffer instead of not. So that is our weekly SewBit. See you next time.